Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Out and About in Ulster with me, Malachy Cushion. This week we're here in Antrim in the beautiful landscape of Moyle. You don't get much more beautiful than this when you visit Ulster, and here's what's coming up on tonight's programme. Well, there you have a taster of what's coming up on tonight's programme, and not only does Moyle boast such beautiful scenery, it's also full of great music, and the little tots are learning as well. We went to see them earlier on where we met up with the chair of the local council, Cara McShane, as well.
Welcome to Moyle District Council. Today we're joined with Hale School in Cashel, Ballycastle's Irish Language Primary School. Today we're celebrating Shafton McGeeligha, so it's a celebration of Irish language, culture, and we're doing that through dance and music, poetry and prose. And today's a celebration of that Irish language and how it has grown over the past 10 to 15 years within Ballycastle and throughout Moyle.
Well, great stuff there from the chair of the local council here in Moyle, Cara McShane, all those wonderful kids keeping the tradition and culture alive here in the Moyle area. And of course you couldn't be here in Moyle without going out onto the ocean. Earlier I caught up with the guys from Aquaholics and got out on the rough Irish Sea.
I started off running a diving company, and one of our main challenges is taking people diving around the coast here, and which is very popular with world-class diving around the Rathlin Island Giant's Causeway coastline. And we also saw an opening then for sea safari trips, so we do a lot of sea safari trips, taking people out and around the coast to see the wildlife, the birds, the dolphins, but also the geological features that makes this coast so interesting and wild.
Talking particularly about the diving there, because it's an interesting subject. Are you into deep sea diving yourself?
Yeah, I'm an instructor, and I've been diving since about 11 years old around the coastline. We've got loads of war wrecks, especially from the First and the Second World War, wrecked around the Rathlin Island. And also then, what happens is that the wrecks are on the bottom. The strong currents and the rich, deep, clear waters around this coastline are great for turns the wreck into a coral reef. So the wreck now is completely covered in soft coral and fish life, and it's a great attraction to our visiting divers. For years we've been taking out tours traditionally a lot in the past, and it's only in the last few years a lot of the local Irish market is starting to come out with us. and they've realised what's on their coastline. So from Irish divers to holiday makers, people are completely amazed, because when people traditionally in Ireland were going abroad, they were doing these things, and now they realise you won't get a view like this anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, it is true, especially, and as we can see, the weather has changed once again. The sun's out again. It's just an ever-changing landscape.
Yeah, every 5 minutes we'll see a different sea state, we'll see a different weather, we'll see different marine life. And then again, when we go underwater, it's constantly changing. Every time the tide changes, the marine life goes a different way, different animals, different soft corals. Right, that's us coming towards Kenbean Head. Kenbean Head is a limestone head sticking out from a basalt rock formation. It's quite a prominent head and it's great view. And so there was a castle on Kenbean Head, and the castle took up the whole of the mount. And on the other side of the mount, we will see the foundations left of the castle. People see this bit of the castle just straight ahead of the boat, and they think that's the castle. But that was actually just the gatehouse of the castle. And this was one of the controlling castles for Ulster over 400 or 500 years ago.
You can imagine how imposing that was, sitting out here on this coast, and how nature has taken its toll and just brought it down.
Yeah, completely, because the limestone, as you know, in the sea can erode very quickly. But like Dunluce Castle, it's got a great view and a great command over the sea.
And of course, these white cliffs that we can see, the limestone, but there's also some caves there as well.
Yeah, the geological features along this north coast are second to none in the world. The geologist tells you nearly have every geological feature exists, and you can see the different fault lines. You can actually see under Kenbean headland a basalt fault line in the limestone area, which is apparently quite rare. So now we're going to increase the revs here and head up to Carrigareed, and it's quite a spectacular place to see.
Do the intrepid explorers who travel along with you get a chance to take the helm?
Yeah, some of them are brave enough too. They can do that. Sounds a good insurance, Malaga. You want to go?
Why not?
There you go.
And full control.
And if you want to now, you can bring the revs up. So if you have two engines, so you can slowly increase the revs by pushing them forward. Not back. Yep.
Well, what a great experience. I really enjoyed the action out there on the water. And of course, you girls work in the tourism office here in Ballycastle. And it's a first for you as well.
Definitely a first for us. We're so used to encouraging all the visitors to see the Causeway Coast from the road angle. But now seeing it from the sea, the ferry sea, it's absolutely beautiful. You're seeing so many different angles of the Causeway Coast. It's fantastic.
What about you, Hyatt? How did you enjoy it?
Oh, an amazing experience. Certainly will be recommending to all the visitors to take the tour. It was amazing.
Certainly is. Well, I couldn't have asked for better companions on my first voyage out there on the waters of Ballycastle, and certainly to be recommended. Well, plenty of action out there in the seas, and it is addictive, so the name suits aquaholics. Thanks to the team there for looking after us this morning. Now, of course, in this area, they're so proud of their food, and earlier I went in here to the Marine Hotel where the local chef gave me a masterclass in the local fish dishes.
The Marine Hotel is the only hotel here in Ballycastle. We are situated right on the seafront and it is the heart of the town. Coming into our high season here, so we're getting a lot more visitors coming in through, a lot more walk-ins in through the door, and of course then we have a lot of groups, walking groups, things like that. You know, we're getting a lot of business coming in. We have a restaurant, which is our bistro, Marconi's. We also have a restaurant right on the other side as well that we would serve in. Our head chef, Kevin Coy, created a brand new menu when he came on board with us. He has signature dishes, including a hake sample, so he does, that's really, really popular here in the hotel. And hopefully if you ask him, he might make you some of that later on today.
I'm Kevin Coy, the head chef at the Marine Hotel in Ballycastle. Today I'm going to be cooking one of our signature dishes, which is fresh from the sea, which is just right out the front of the hotel. It is pan-seared fillet of hake with creamed potatoes, minted pea puree, buttered green beans and crispy leeks. First of all, season the fish. And in the pan we just have creamed potatoes, which we're going to heat up with a drop of cream, or a drop of butter, sorry. And again, season our potatoes. And our pan's hot, we're going to just pan-sear our fillet of hake. Holding it down so that the skin crisps. And then our green beans are going into the water, we're going to blanch them. Again, we're just waiting for the skin to crisp up before we flip the fish over. Perfect. Once again, we're just put fish down there that cooks on the inside, and then we'll finish it off in the oven. In this pan here, we've got minted pea puree. We'll just bring it to a slow heat. Once again, slow heat. In go our leeks, quick flash fry. Again, we drop a seasoning. First of all, we take our pea puree, good helping of it, in the bottom of the plate, smooth it out. And then a quenelle of creamed potatoes. Followed by green beans. Then our pan-seared fillet of hake. Topped with crispy leeks. And there we have it, Marconi's signature dish, pan-seared fillet of hake, minted pea puree, creamed potatoes, green beans and crispy leeks. Service please.
Well, there you have something to tempt those taste buds, thanks to Kevin and the team there at the Marine Hotel. We've got much, much more coming up on this evening's programme. Do stay with us. We'll be back after this short break. Well, a very warm welcome back to Out and About in Ulster this week from the Moyle region here in North Antrim. And of course, the Green Glens of Antrim have been famed in story and song throughout the world, but we may not know some of the hidden secrets and stories behind them. Local historian Donald O'Lone took us along to those lovely glens, and we found out a few insights and a few stories you may just not know.
Well, the village of Cushendun is really different from most Irish villages, and perhaps all Irish villages, because to a great extent the architecture in it is a Cornish style. And the reason for that is that in the 1920s, Lord Cushendun designed the houses in the centre of the village in Cornish style because his wife came from Cornwall, and so he wanted to please her. This was only the right thing to do. The early 2000s were a very sad time here in these glens and in the heart of the glens of Antrim, because foot and mouth disease attacked the livestock here, and of course that meant that all cattle, all sheep, all goats had to be culled. So it was a very difficult time for the farmers and for all the people of the glens of Antrim here. But when everything was finished, the artist Deborah Brown cast this sculpture of the goat. The goat, named Johann, was the last animal to be culled here, and Deborah Brown made a cast of that and presented it to the people of Cushendun and to the glens as a memorial to that very sad time. But glad to see the glens are now restocked and farming is continuing at full pace as it did in the past. Well, without going back millions of years, perhaps just thousands of years, back to the last ice age, between 10 and 13,000 years ago, and the ice came down from the north. A glacier came down from the north and carved out the channel of the sea behind us and carved out the 9 glens of Antrim. And here we are in the heart of the 9 glens of Antrim. Cushendun is in the glen of Glendun, and that of course means the glen of the Dun is the name of the river, the Brown River. And of course it's brown because of the peat from the mountains above us. So Glendun is one of the glens right beside us here, and a few miles distant we have Cushendall, which is in the glen of Glenballyyemen. And just beyond that we have the Queen of the Glens, what's known as the Queen of the Glens, Glenariff, which has a beautiful forest park and waterfalls. So this is the heart of the glens of Antrim. Well, Glenariff is known as the Queen of the Glens, Queen of the 9 glens, and I think most people would say for obvious reasons. It's actually fairly different from a lot of the rest of the glens in that it is, the sides of it are rocky cliffs which drop hundreds of feet down to the bottom of the valley. And there are waterfalls which fall down the sides of those cliffs, very, very dramatic, particularly after, as you would imagine, after heavy rain. And the waterfall behind me at the moment is known as Esna Crub, or the waterfall of the horse's foot. And all of the waterfalls have their own names. We're very fortunate that the film company has found this area suitable to film Game of Thrones along the coast, and yes, just a few hundred yards from us here is one of the areas where one particular scene of Game of Thrones has been shot. This is the entrance into Cave House, which was the home of the Cromwell family, who were entrepreneurs in this area a couple of hundred years ago. But more recently then it has been used in the filming of the blockbuster film Game of Thrones, and the filming of it continues at several sites along the North Antrim coast to this day.
Well, thanks to Donald O'Lone for some of those wonderful, insightful stories from the beautiful glens of Antrim. And across the sea is Rathlin Island. Earlier today we got the boat across and met some of the locals and found out some of the stories and the crafts of Rathlin Island. Well, Mary, coming into Ballycastle, it's one of those unique towns that still have the quaint little shops still here. They haven't lost that old world charm, and of course the nod to the new as well.
Absolutely, and that's the way we'd like to keep it. We're very lucky that it has been sort of unspoilt over the years, and now that we realise the potential of having a beautiful place like Ballycastle with its gorgeous old-fashioned shops, and I'm sure the lovely personality of the people that live here, friendly and personable, I'm delighted it is the way it is.
Of course, you're naturally blessed because the scenery here is phenomenal. Of course, that ferry crossing, which is so important to people both in Ballycastle and Rathlin, is hugely important. It gives you a whole different view of this beautiful landscape.
Absolutely. Again, we're really blessed that we have the only inhabited offshore island in Northern Ireland right on our doorstep. Rathlin is very beautiful, and as quaint and lovely as Ballycastle is, Rathlin is even a step more apart. So right here, 45 minutes on one of our boats and 25 on the other, we have a little world away for a day is how we advertise it.
And of course, all peppered along that is the lovely cultural things go along, the great flavour of music, and of course the Maritime Festival, which is on its way.
Absolutely. We call it the Rathlin Sound Maritime Festival. Very lucky this year that we've got NITP sponsorship. So there are great plans afoot. We have had started last year, and even though it was the first year, we were all a little bit apprehensive as to how it would go, but it went really well. There was a great buy-in from every group, the Chamber of Commerce, the Development Group, the Tourism Group are fantastic, Moyle District Council, NITB, and this year, because we've got the funding, it's bigger and better and a lot more cooperation, so the restaurants are all pulling together, the kids in the schools are involved, all the clubs in the town are involved, and at this stage we're about 10 weeks away from kick-off, so our boat building project is actually starting this weekend, so we'll have our Drontheim arriving very shortly, and that will be the project on each side of the water, one being built in Rathlin and one being built here. Last year we did a curragh on each side, and at the end of the Maritime Festival we had a good old race. The project of building the Drontheim and the curragh that started last year I think has great makings for having a sustainable boat building project in the town. So it's a great way to preserve the maritime tradition of the town, which of course it is very rich in fishing and boats and boat building and seamanship, likewise in Rathlin. So I would love to see this as being a sustainable project that would go on outside of the Maritime Festival. And the Maritime Festival will be running from the 23rd of May, which the first weekend is a bank holiday weekend up here. Then during the week we have lots of other activities as well involving schools and groups and whatever. And then the following weekend, which is the June bank holiday weekend down south, is the Rathlin side. So it starts in the Ballycastle on the first bank holiday weekend and finishes in Rathlin on the June weekend. And it's 10 days of really good music, cookery, exhibitions, activities, lots of tasters where you can go and try to do this, that and the other on the sea and on the land. So it's definitely worth a visit, and it has something for everybody.
Well, there you have it. That's all we have time for here this week on the programme from the beautiful Moyle region. I hope you have enjoyed it every bit as much as I have. It has been fantastic, and thanks to all the lovely people who made us feel so welcome here over the last few days. Don't forget though, we'll do it all again next week from somewhere close to you. Until then, take care. We'll see you soon.
Hello and welcome to Out and About in Ulster. This week we are in the Moyle district in Antrim, finding out about the arts and history of the area there. Here's what's coming up on today's programme. And the last time we spoke to Donald O'Lone, he had lots of historical information for us. We had time to catch up with him again to find out more about the hidden gems in the area.
Cushendall, the Irish word, means beside the River Dall. And Cushendall is at the mouth of another of the glens of Antrim, Glen Ballyyeaman. Cushendall is sometimes known as the capital of the glens, and it's a conservation area. The housing style there is known as Neo-Georgian. And the reason for the architecture of Cushendall is that in the 1800s, the village was purchased by Francis Turnley. Francis Turnley had worked for the East India Company in China, and had, in terms of the time that he was working, he had become a multi-millionaire. He returned and he bought an estate near Carnlough, and he also bought the village of Cushendall. There's about 6 miles distance between the two. So Francis Turnley set about redeveloping the small village of Cushendall, which before that had been known as Newtown Glens, and he renamed it Cushendall. And the houses, as I said, were built in this particular style, which we would classify as Neo-Georgian. And he made it into a very beautiful village. A lot of trees have been planted around it. And one of the unique features of Cushendall, of course, is what's known as Turnley's Tower, or sometimes it's known as the Curfew Tower, which stands right in the centre of the village at the crossroads through the village. So the Curfew Tower was built to be a place of imprisonment for local malefactors. I'm not sure that too many were imprisoned, but he had a warder in charge of it who was supplied with a pike to put down any bad elements in the town. So that's Turnley's Tower, and Turnley's Tower is now used by artists who can take a short-term residency of it, and all they're expected to do is leave behind a piece of their artwork. Well, we're just about to leave here and go a few miles around the coast to Cushendun and Castle Cara. Castle Cara is one of the important features here of Cushendun and Glendun. And Castle Cara was the castle of the MacDonald clan. It's basically like an Irish tower house. The MacDonalds, of course, were very important here in the Glens. In 1399, John MacDonald, the second son of the Lord of the Isles, the Lord of the Scottish Isles, married the heiress, the Norman heiress to the Glens. Her name was Marjorie Bissett. And so the MacDonalds, who had, of course, been in Ireland earlier as gallowglasses to the O'Neills, became the owners of the Glens of Antrim, and they built various fortified houses or castles at different points along it. And Castle Cara is one of those. And the most important story about Castle Cara, of course, and this will be very interesting to yourselves, because I know you have been at the Hill of O'Neill in Dungannon, but Castle Cara is where Shane O'Neill met his end. Previous to that, Shane O'Neill, Shane the Proud, the chieftain of the O'Neill clan, had agreed with Queen Elizabeth of England that he should drive out these Scots, the MacDonalds. And he did. He marched his army north and he defeated the MacDonald forces at the Battle of Glentasy beside Ballycastle. He took the chieftain of the MacDonalds, Sir James MacDonald, prisoner. He also took his younger brother, Sorleyboy, prisoner as well. Sir James was badly injured and he was very badly looked after while he was imprisoned, and he died while imprisoned by Shane O'Neill. But 2 years later, matters had turned around, and Shane needed the support of the MacDonalds. He had Sorleyboy as a prisoner still, so he decided that he would attempt a meeting with the MacDonalds, and he, with a small group, came up from Dungannon, and he came to meet with the MacDonalds here in Cushendun at Castlecara. There was a lot of partying went on, but it sounds a very strange thing that he thought that after all that had happened that he could make a treaty and gain support from the MacDonalds. And I think things became really much worse when Shane suggested that he should marry the widow of Sir James MacDonald, who had just died in his custody. So tempers flared, and as a result of that, a fight developed and Shane was killed here right beside us at Castlecara. And there was money for his head from the government, and so his head was cut off and taken to Carrickfergus, and his body was buried up the road from Castlecara.
And the area is full of such beauty and arts, and I was lucky enough to catch up with some of the local artists in Rathling Island and Ballycastle.
So we're here just coming up on a year now, and it's been a great success.
And what was your inspiration for opening up the gallery, Martin?
Just the love of arts and crafts, and getting to work with a lot of local artists.
And tell me a little bit about the local artists you have available in the shop.
There's a whole range of them, starting from every different type of art you can imagine. Portrait, landscape, a wee bit of mad stuff. A lot of different stuff, something for every taste. You have a local one here, Brian Ross, you have Bridge Stanley, Oliver McParland, Paul O'Brien, quite a few artists, and we'll have some local photography as well, which some great shots of the photography as well.
So it seems to be that the island is what inspired your work then, Yvonne?
It is, yes. It's so natural. It's very unique. The seals are just on my front door. It's just the beauty, it's breathtaking. I started to do a wee journey around the island, getting to know the places, and I came across Mary's garden, which was full of all bits and pieces, and I've no idea who Mary is, and it's just next door to the wee fish and chip shop. And the seagull was on the chimney, and he just drew my attention, and I took him with me on my journey around the island. And and later that night there was a full moon, so I changed them to moonlight scenes. And as you can see, went right round the whole island to the telephone box, Mill Bay, St Thomas's Church, and the East Lighthouse.
And all of your paintings are for sale, Yvonne?
Yes, they are. I have a wee open studio here. While I'm painting, if people want to come in and look at the art, and if they want to take it away with them, they may.
And do you hope to expand the art studio in any way?
No, I just want to keep it simple, my home. It's unique this way because people come in and they're invited into my home and they see what I do, and I think it's that wee bit more special.
So tell us about what people and visitors to the art studio here would experience with a visit.
I think they're blown away by the story, and once they see the wildlife out the front and they see it being produced in here, and it's just taking a wee piece of the island back home with them.
And during our visit, Malachy and I headed off to Bushmills Distillery. We spoke to Niall to find out about the history of Bushmills, and we also had a few tipples. Have a look.
We get about 120,000 visitors every year. We're very pleased to see every one of them. And we hope to see as many this year as we did last year. We count ourselves as being over 400 years old, and we're very, very proud of that heritage. I mean, we know for a fact there's distillation around the site for all of those 400 years. So we like to emphasise that goes into the history of our whisky, and it makes for a great product.
And what about the process of creating this wonderful golden nectar that people love across the world? What's the process like?
Well, we do everything here on site. We're very unusual in that. We're one of the few distilleries left that count ourselves as grain to glass. So we bring grain in at one end, and at least 5 years later we send that grain out as whiskey worldwide, right across every continent. So every single bottle of Bushmills that you have seen anywhere in the world has at some time left this site, Malachy. About a third of our product goes to the States. The really developing market at the moment is Eastern Europe, the likes of Bulgaria, stretching into Russia. The people over there are really finding out that the Irish whiskey is something different to their usual brand. So that's a very, very important market to us at the moment.
And when people come here from wherever that may be, how do they find the experience?
They all enjoy it. They see whiskey making firsthand. They see all the equipment that we use. The process is all explained to them. And they get to taste the whiskey at the end of the tour. So they get to taste the product, and that's a very, very important part of it. So Malachy, I'd like you and your crew, you all to join me at the bar here, and we'll have a tipple or two of good old Bushmills.
Well, Niall, not one, of course, to refuse an offer. All for the name of the game. I'm in.
Good
Let's
man.
go.
Okay, thank you. You're very welcome to the 1608 bar. There's a hot toddy for you. 16-year-old single malt for you, Malachy, and I'm going to have a 12-year-old single malt. Okay, well, we have a favourite toast here at Bushmills when we meet new friends, so I'll just give it to you, Malachy. There are tall ships, there are long ships, there are ships that sail the sea, but the best ships of all are friendships, and long may that ever be. Good health.
And now it's time for a break. Make sure you join us after the break, where we'll be going to Glenmona House to hear about the red squirrels and also visiting a very exciting archaeological dig. See you after the break. And welcome back. We're off now to join Malachy with Remy at Glen Mona House. Let's see what they got up to.
Well, the Heart of the Glens Landscape Partnership is about, I suppose it's about people more importantly, and it's about this wonderful landscape in which we're living in. It runs from Glenarm and about a 40-mile stretch up to just beyond Ballycastle, along the whole coastal landscape. And the Glens is a very unusual landscape in the sense it's got a huge tradition. It's got strong links with Scotland, which is only 20 odd miles away and less in some parts. And it's about looking at that, the history of the people right going back through it, looking at biodiversity, looking at heritage, looking at culture, and also then finding ways that we can actually accentuate the Glens as an area, as a resource for people to come to. For example, I'm from Newry originally, and I live here with my wife and family, but one of the things that struck me when I first came here is I really knew nothing about the Glens of Antrim. And in terms of an Irish context, a lot of people don't realise that this jewels here is one of the most iconic landscapes, certainly anywhere in the island. It's got a fantastic cultural tradition, it's got a fantastic tradition of music, of language, of arts, of heritage, of natural landscape, and people know nothing about it. And really outside the north area, or even as far as like this Newry where I'm from, we knew nothing about this. So this scheme is about to work with local communities to get them more involved with their heritage and with their landscape at every level, from agriculture right through to music, right through to, right at every level, to help maybe sustain some jobs and maybe help create opportunities to create them jobs for themselves. We'll be running programmes hopefully with land managers, farmers, people like that, to help them maybe get the best out of the new countryside management scheme, which is a European-wide scheme coming in here, so we can help them access that so they can stay on the land and the land can become sustainable, but also that the environment's protected for future generations. We'll be working through artisan schemes, so people who are doing some very creative stuff going on here in the Glens, that maybe that can bring them to new markets or bring people to them and help them create local markets and festivals. And there's a whole plethora of stuff that we're doing. There's an archaeological project which is running just behind us here, and that's allowing people to understand the heritage of the place in a real sense, actually get involved, and that's volunteers are involved in that, school children involved. We have Queen's University working with us in that programme, and we'll run projects like that through the 5 years, and it's bringing more information about the heritage place to the people.
So Cormac, tell us about this dig here in particular.
Well, we know that in the Cushendun area there has been dense settlement now for thousands of years. The earliest settlements that we ourselves have found in excavations from the Centre for Archaeological Fieldwork and the Northern Ireland Environment Agency have been 7000 BC in a site really just up round the corner at Castle Cara, and there have also been other excavations carried out in previous decades by the University of Harvard, for instance, which have also found traces of prehistoric hunter-gatherer settlements dating to around 7,000 years ago, around 5,000 BC, and we wanted to test the intervening areas between that, really prospect in the intervening areas between that, to see if we could find any evidence for the density of early prehistoric settlement in this area, because we believe for a number of reasons that the Cushendun area might be particularly rich. In fact, all the Antrim Glens might be particularly rich for a hunter-gatherer community to live in. There are lots of different resources within a very, very small area, lots of different food types which could be exploited. There are lots of different types of fish, there are seabirds, there would have been hazelnuts and various different types of fruits and various different types of game, boar and deer and all sorts of things which you could have eaten, eels and salmon in the rivers within just a day's walk of here. Whereas in many parts of the Ulster landscape and the wider Irish landscape, you might have had to have walked for several days to get that range of resources. So we think that there may have been quite a dense level of early prehistoric settlement, and that's what we're really trying to test. So we've dug a number of very small trial excavations over the past few days. We dug a couple down close to the beach. We've dug a couple farther back here, and we have uncovered some struck flints, some broken flint artefacts that date to approximately the period we're talking about. But unfortunately, we haven't yet found any smoking gun for any settlements. But in a sense, that's probably too much to expect from the scale of excavations that we have carried out. It's quite interesting that we have found this background radiation, this bubbling of signs of activity, but not necessarily solid settlements during our small excavations in the past few days. This is part of a series of community archaeological projects which are going to be carried out as part of the new Heart of the Glens Landscape Partnership. We're going to conduct several different excavations, not just prospecting excavations. The other sites we're going to target are going to be sites where we know at present there actually are upstanding archaeological remains and archaeological deposits which we'll be able to both extract information from and also be able to let community volunteers participate in not just the finding of these archaeological remains and artefacts, but also be informed and themselves feed into the analysis and the interpretation of these archaeological finds, leading to full publications, both academic publications and more general popular reader publications. That's our concept for these series of projects over the next few years.
Well, the group was initially formed in 2008, and we've been carrying out work throughout all the glens of Antrim to conserve the red squirrel, albeit it has been under threat from the grey squirrel, which is prolific outside of the glens area. We're quite lucky within the glens of Antrim where we only have the red squirrel, so we look after it, we put up feeders, and we hold different walks and encourage people to come up and see the red squirrels here.
Of course, you've a particularly interesting project here. You've made a sort of a squirrel playground.
Yes, it's named a Red Squirrel Playground. We got the idea actually across in Cumbria, where we visited red squirrel groups there, and in public areas. This is Glenmona up in Cushendun, and in cooperation with the National Trust and with funding from the NIEA Challenge Fund, we put together this playground to encourage squirrels to come out and to allow the public then a good view of them as they go to the ropes here and the rope ladder and the other ladders that we have for them to play with.
Now, of course, the native red squirrel is hard to see when you go outside these areas, but why are the glens special in respect that they've kept the native squirrel?
Well, over the years, because of where the glens are situated in the northeast corner, surrounded by mountain and bog, the grey squirrel has been finding it very difficult to get access across into the area. Now, there have been a few incursions, but we then trap and get rid of any grey squirrels that come into this area because they pose a threat through disease to the native reds here.
And of course, there will be huge interest in the playground and the opportunity to see the native red squirrel. What sort of visitors are you seeing coming along here?
Well, Cushendun is a beautiful place and people are naturally attracted to it. There's a caravan park just behind this location, and the National Trust here at Glenmona are opening up the place now and trying to encourage people to come and look at the area. So I expect that quite a few people, day visitors and indeed those staying on their holidays, will take advantage of this location and come and see and experience red squirrels.
Well, that's it for tonight's programme. Make sure to join us again next week. And to play us out, we have some more from the fantastic musicians at Johnny Joe's in Cushendall.